Glen Tilbrook and Kris Difford of Squeeze didn't love you, they wouldn't be guest DJs on First Wave.
Hear them share their favorite classic alternative songs now.
We've taken over the First Wave studio as guest DJs, and I'm Kris from Squeeze.
I'm Glen from Squeeze, and we're playing songs that have every emotion available to you. Kris and I used to work as part-time removal men, and one day we had a job to move a piano to St Albans in the UK from South London, where we live. And so we sat in the back of the van, because none of us could drive at that time, and wrote Take Me, I'm Yours, as we were going along the M1. And I think that's the only song we ever wrote in a van.
Yeah, I'm Kris Difford from Squeeze, and it's kind of new territory for me, picking something from the 80s. I don't remember much about it, but The Clash, London Calling springs to mind. I saw them in New York playing one night, and I was really blown away with the fact that they bothered to use technology along with the instrumentation. They used a lot of London images on the screen, and I thought that was a really talented thing to be doing, and I was blown away with the show. So London Calling.
Hi, I'm Glen Tilbrook. I'm from Squeeze, and I'm going to share a classic track with you. The next one I'm going to pick is by The Only Ones. It's called Another Girl, Another Planet. I actually was in this band for a while after I became homeless, and so Pete made a deal with me where I could live in his house and play guitar in his band. He was a very talented man, but he liked drugs too much, and they sort of ravaged him, sadly. But when that band were playing together, they were really on fire, and musically a very sort of literate band, and I love this song. I'm Glen Tilbrook from Squeeze, and I'm sharing some classic alternative tracks with you. And the next track I'm going to pick is by Big Audio Dynamite, E=mc². After the Clash sort of disintegrated, I went to see them play live in London, and they were using the fantastic keyboard of the moment was the Yamaha DX7. It has a rather sort of cheesy, trumpety sound on the record. You may also notice a certain sort of similarity between the chord sequence of the chorus and that of Hourglass, because they are very similar. But the tune isn't the same. It's just I used it as a bit of a starting point. But I love this song. I love Mick Jones has a great pop sensibility.
Hi, I'm Kris from Squeeze, and sometimes people have said that my voice is a bit like Lou Reed's, so I'd like to play Wild Child by Lou Reed. I met him once at a Chinese restaurant. He had a broken leg, he'd been skiing, and he said, people say that you sound like me, and I said, well, that's the biggest compliment I've ever had.
Hi, I'm Glen from Squeeze, and I'm sharing some pop moments that I like from the alternative universe that we occupy. I'm going to choose a song by David Bowie called Fashion, and I'm choosing this because I recently watched a French film from 1966 called Who Are You, Polly Magoo, which is about the fashion industry and how ridiculous it can be sometimes. It's a very, very good film, but the thing I realised watching it is that within the film they had the top-rated fashion critic who everyone was frightened of, and she had a posse of people around her, as these sort of people do, and every now and then, for no apparent reason, they would all say beep beep, and I thought that's where Bowie got it from. It's quite amazing.
I'm Kris from Squeeze, and I'm sharing my tracks with you, and from David Bowie to Iggy Pop, why not, and nightclubbing. When this first came out, I could wear the nightclubbing hat very well, especially here in the great city of New York. And to be at the Limelight Club and hear this song being pumped out really loud at 3 o'clock in the morning was always a turn on for me.
I'm Glen Tilbrook from Squeeze, and I really like Teenage Fan Club. And I'd like to play a track from their album Bandwagon-esque called What You Do To Me. I think they're possibly, it could be said that they're too modest for their own good as a band. They certainly don't like to blow their own trumpet, and they're a very talented band. They've just been touring, and I love their sensibility, and I think they've got great tunes. I'm Glen Tilbrook from Squeeze, and I would love very much to choose a song that I first heard when I was on a radio review panel for the new singles of the week. And they used to do something where they'd have a surprise guest, and you'd be reviewing one of their records and you wouldn't know they were there until afterwards. So the track Don't You Want Me Baby came on, and I said, this is absolutely brilliant. To me, modern pop music, and it's going somewhere that no one else has really taken stuff before. And luckily enough, they were the guest that week, so I paid them a lot of nice compliments without knowing it. But I love this song. It still stands up today, I think.
Hi, I'm Kris Difford from Squeeze.
I'm Glen Tilbrook from that same band, which is why we're in the same room together. And we're in the same room together because we've sacked the DJs for this hour to play what we want to.
When we were recording the East Side Story album, we had a wonderful person in the band called Paul Carrick, and he sang the song Tempted. But a previous version of it, Glenn sang, and it was produced by Dave Edmonds. And I think it's just as good.
Well, you're very kind, Chris, but the fact is, it isn't.
It's rubbish.
Yeah, it's rubbish. It was sort of like a bad ELO song when we first recorded it. It was sort of a bit more bombastic, and Paul Carrick found exactly the right way to sing it, and I'm forever grateful to him for that.
Hey, I'm Kris Difford from Squeeze, and I like their Ramones very much because they kind of didn't care about what people thought of their image or the way they did. They just played live, and they played at a speed that was very difficult to match. And Sheena is a punk rocker, I think would definitely excite new people to the radio.
Hi, I'm Glen Tilbrook from Squeeze. You may know that, you may not. I don't know. I can't see inside your mind, but what I can see inside is my mind. And my mind has produced this song to play. It's Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols because it created such a fuss in the UK and over here too, I think. They had a lovely raw energy. They were very expertly produced as a band. And they changed the face of music forever. And John Lydon, I think, is an extremely smart, funny and intelligent chap, and I love him to bits. When I first got the lyric to Separate Beds, I'm Glen Tilbrook from Squeeze, by the way. Kris Difford writes the lyrics, and he gave me this lyric. And when I got to the line, her mother didn't like me, she thought I was on drugs, I just fell about the floor laughing. It was so good. And of course, a lot of the mothers of girls that I went out with did think I was on drugs. So I could relate to that in particular. And it just, for me, the best songs are like diary entries. They conjure up a certain space and time for us. And that really brings me back to 1979.
Hey, this is Kris Difford, and I tempt you to listen to the Talking Heads, and she was. And, the way David Byrne has completely made himself an individual in the music industry is a very huge inspiration. I love the way he goes in so many different directions and gets it right every time.
You just heard Glen Tilbrook and Kris Difford of Squeeze guest DJ on First Wave.